You're tuned in to RX Radio.
We're back.
We're on?
Yeah, we're on. I know. Freshly back from Vegas, both of us. You more freshly back than me with, 24 hours or so of travel.
Something, yeah, dude. So that was a nightmare. A nightmare. So landed up at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Quickly, had a look and got a notification saying like flight delayed. And I immediately, I had a short window between the two flights from the Vegas, LA, Brisbane. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be a problem. So I went to the airport early at like 11:30. Got there and I was like, hey, my flight's delayed, or it said it's delayed. Is there an earlier flight? And the lady looked at me, she's like, everything's delayed. She's like, personally, I don't think anything's leaving today. I was like, what? She's like, everything's fucked. So I looked at her and I was like, how far's the drive? It's like 5.5 hours. She's like, it's your best bet. So I quickly got to a rental car company. The only car they had left was some giant SUV thing, which, remember, giant SUV, it felt like an unstable platform. The suspension wasn't great on it. For some reason, that's a thing in SUVs. Yeah. And then I'm driving on the opposite side of the road. So it was an eventful, very stressful 5.5 hours or 5-hour drive to LA. Peak LA traffic, which also I have no idea how you survive it. That's
insane, dude. Insane.
How I didn't crash.
LA sucks.
Got there, hour layover on a plane for 15 hours, and then I moved, and that was that. That was the last podcast we spoke about. Do you know that? The last podcast we were together, I announced that I bought a new place. I'm in the new place.
Yeah, you're in it. You got a podcast studio in the place. Is this it? Really first look?
This is the first it. This is the first look. I think Lundy would be impressed. I got to send him a photo and be like, hey, man, I think I leveled up.
Yeah. Well, judging by how smoothly this went with us getting this podcast started, I think so. I think you definitely leveled up. We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you made it. You survived LA traffic in an SUV on the right side of the road, America. Yeah. And we're back.
Yeah.
We're back. RX Radio, James McIntosh, of course, our resident South African, myself, Jordan Jiunta. But before we hop into it, if you're listening to this upon release on Wednesday, the 23rd, today we actually have a live webinar with Dr. Jordan Chow, all things back pain, core training, contributing factors, treatment options, predicting factors, all types of things, anything low back pain. So if that's something that interests you, that's something that's pertinent to anyone that works with other humans in a training capacity, you've probably dealt with this. You have clients that have dealt with this. Hop on in. You can head over to the website, www.pre-script.com. And right at the banner at the top of the homepage, you can drop your email and get a registration link. Webinar will go live tonight. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. I could be wrong on that, so double check the info. But yeah, and if you're listening to this after the fact, I'm sorry that you missed it. But we have the next class of the Pre-Script Level 1 launching in September, late September. So you still have time to go ahead and sign up for that. And as Mac and I sit down today, we're going to talk about the application of the Pre-Script Level 1. We're obviously both deeply entrenched in this. Pre-Script has been my entire life for the last, 6, 7, 8 years. You've been deeply ingrained in the Pre-Script community for how long now? Like 3, 4 years?
I think it's coming on. It's either 3 or 4. It feels way longer.
It feels like I've known you my entire life, Matt.
It's exactly how it feels, man. I think shameless plug, but at the same time, part of the purpose of this, dude, that is a testament to the community aspect of Pre-Script, which I think is probably one of our biggest positives and biggest application takeaways that Pre-Script has is the community. It's dude, we're leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else in the biomechanics space. We're leaps and bounds ahead in functional anatomy. We provide the best course out there, hands down. And I'm not biased on. I'm obviously biased on that, but I've taken a lot of courses, and I've gone through a lot of other application. And we provide the facts, we provide the information, we provide everything that there is. What a lot of other people don't provide is the community, and like that's exactly what it is, dude. It's like I think that's one of our biggest applicable takeaways within it. The knowledge is there, and I think being able to dive into it in a little bit of what that is, but the communal aspect, and especially at that time, and that's why it does feel like we've been doing this forever. Like it feels like it's been years, and it feels like it's been years with any and every coach that lands up coming into Prescript, even the semester that's just passed. It's like I feel like I could confidently call one of them up and be like, hey, like, what is one of the biggest takeaways? And I'm saying top 3 would be the community aspect, would be Discord, would be like the outreach that we have on social media. It's like just the communication aspects. Like I have guys just drop me DMs all the time of just like, hey, I've got this problem going on. Or I had one of the guys DM me yesterday. Hey man, just moved up to the Gold Coast. Like I'm looking for like an osteopath or a massage therapist or something like that. Now that sounds so minuscule, but at the same time, it's like the only reason why he did that is because we know each other in terms of Prescript. It's got nothing else, and it's like those are the little things that a lot of people don't think about from a community aspect of what this course, what this family, and like we joke about it, but it's not a joke. It's like you take the PSL1, it's like you become family. It's like we're down with you from that standpoint. It's like fuck, I'll go to a fight with anyone in the PSL1, and I'll like stand up what that is because that is what it does. Is what it's provided along with top level education, top level presentations. It's like we've from when it started, because I was obviously like I think I was the first or the second semester of like the online application. Like we did there. It's like from when it started to where it is now, dude, I've got my notes still. Do you know how many, like the handbook that we know, the manual, that's, again, no one else provides informational resources in the way that we do from like PSL1. But the notes that I have, like I've got 2 sets of notes. I've got my notes, and then I've actually got a notes from, again, someone else who took PSL1 at the same time, because we swapped notes, because that's the community aspect that we created. Like, and I think that was such a cool thing to look back on, and I only look back on it now because I did this move, I guess, and being able to like find all of my textbooks and find all the shit that I had from 4 years, 3.5 years, however long ago it was, of when I decided to somehow jump on this course or dive into this endeavor of like trying to further educate myself. And little did I know that it was going to literally be one of the biggest changes in my life and like the biggest family community aspects that I think has ever happened.
That's unreal,
that was a long
man.
ramble plug, but yes, that's it. It's like come
No,
join us. It's
huge.
what it is. But
and actually, I want to expand on that too, because it is the people that have taken the course, they really understand that, right? That hits home with them. But anyone listening that hasn't taken the course, it's kind of hard to really fathom that and understand that. But if we look at what the course is and the way the course is laid out, is you're going to have, honestly, it usually takes longer than 16 weeks. So this last course that ran was 20 weeks. So 20 weeks of lectures you have. But on top of that, you have over that course of those 20 weeks. So the information is there, like you were saying. It's pretty ironclad. The biomechanics, the functional anatomy, exercise principles, it's all there. You'll get all the information. But the part that is a little bit abstract is the community side of it, is that we have interactive labs. You teach one, I teach one, Killian teaches one, Thayer. And then we have additional labs that come with the collective, where you'll have access to Bagheera. You'll have access to Baxter, and you'll have access to literally anyone who's taken the course that is in our Discord community. So there's hundreds of coaches in there still actively in the Discord community. So over the course of 20 weeks, you get constant communication to literally anyone that is part of the Prescript team, all of our staff, our faculty, anyone that's working with us, plus any of our coaches. So that's such an asset, because we have such high performing coaches in so many different areas. I think that's probably where we'll take this podcast today, is we'll talk about how this can cross apply no matter what the discipline is, right? Like
Yep.
yourself, I've seen you and your business grow over the past few years, and it's fucking incredible, dude. You're doing huge things. You're incredibly competent at what you do. One of the best in the field, absolutely, hands down. Um, we've had people go from, private training facilities into professional sports. We've had people build their own businesses and have a ton of success with it. So it's really cool to see the way that giving people confidence in the way that they approach their craft can really blossom into them building a successful business, building a community of their own. And it really comes down to that, is just having this community of this literally worldwide community of people that you can lean on and you can ask questions to and you could reach out to any time of the day. And they're willing to talk about this because everyone that takes this course is almost pre-vetted in the way that they're investing in themselves in this way because they're passionate about this, right? They want to do well. They want to be better because it's not like a, NASM, NSCA, like certifications. Like you have to take this. No one has to take this, right? They take this because they want to be the best. They want to be better at what they're doing. And we give them the tools to do that. And we give them the connections and the resources to be able to do that, to continually provide a better service to your clients, continually grow your knowledge base, and apply that to literally whatever it is, whether it's clinicians, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's hypertrophy training, whether it's high level bodybuilding coaching like you do, whether it's Olympic lifting like I do. It really applies to everything. And I think that's the cool thing, is that you get these people that, these professions don't necessarily interact all the time, right? A lot of times people stay within their niche, they'll stay within their profession, but getting exposure to people that are doing a similar thing at a very high level, but in a different way, really starts to give you a different perspective of different ways that you can apply this, and how there's overarching principles that apply to every single human when it comes to performance. And that's what we try to distill this down to, is that if you understand these principles and you understand how to apply them, and you have some sort of systematic way of thinking about it, then that's going to be the thing that allows you to decode human movement, or kind of deconstruct issues that people are having, whether it's pain, whether it's performance, whether it's just teaching them things like Killian is teaching a course right now on skill acquisition, learning new skills. Is that we have the tools, we have the people with the knowledge, and we're here to help.
Yeah, man, but it's the cross pollination of niches, if we want to call it that, or cross pollination of like different populations that you kind of work with, was one of like the massive things that I've noticed grow exponentially within the Prescript community and within the course attendees. I think is probably where I see it. Well, I see it the most obviously with the interactive labs and teaching those and trying to jump on as many as we can. And that's the cool thing, because when, as a personal trainer, because essentially that's what I am. It's like essentially that's all I have behind me. I mean, I've got the emergency medicine side of it, but essentially all I have is I'm a personal trainer. I have a Cert 3 and 4. Like probably 90% of the people working with face-to-face or online individuals who come to us, who now has access to physios, chiropractors, S&C professionals. Some people, just general population, gut health specialists. We got Phil, sports nutrition. Like, dude, it's probably it's the fastest way to grow and then be able to figure out what you're actually good at, as well as what to do when you don't know what to do things. And I think that was such a big takeaway for me as I developed over the last 3 years. It was super easy to reach out to anyone and be like, hey man, like I've got a client with this. Like I have no idea what this is. And it's some form like more clinical based from that standpoint. And I could very easily have a conversation, whether it was in, Instagram DMs, whether it was like a WhatsApp phone call that we landed up then like jumping on, like whatever it was. I had access to an individual who had some idea behind this, could give me background, give me theory, give me the clinical side of it, if we're talking clinical from here, and then turn around and be like, hey, this is how it's going to relate to personal training principles. So it's like I had someone talk to me at a very high structured level and then literally be like, hey, it's anti-rotation movement is what you got to focus on. For example, it's like, hey, I've got people with hernias. Okay, hernias like a sports hernia or something like that. Hernias suck, and they're more common than not from that standpoint. But as a personal trainer in your Cert 3 and 4, and even a little bit more than that, like no one teaches you about that. It's like I knew what a hernia was because I've had a hernia, but you don't know what a hernia is. Like not many people understand like what a hernia actually is and what the principle is behind it. Went to a clinician, chiropractor, physio from that standpoint. We even had shout out, I'm gonna mess up his name and I can't remember. We had a couple surgeons and a neurosurgeon, if I remember correctly, at one stage in the course. If you remember, I think it was maybe a year ago or something like that. And like I reached out to the surgeon and I was like, hey man, like a doctor, like a medical doctor, no offense, but like an actual doctor, not like these people who play doctors on the internet. And it's not dig at you, this digs at other people. But the idea behind it is like I could have a chat with a surgeon, a person who cuts people's bodies up, open, not up, hopefully, open, and like, hey man, like, what do you do in this procedure? It's like, where do you go? What muscles do you cut through? It's like, what's the approach? And the beauty behind that is like, I could then go, okay, cool, like hernia, he was going to cut through the abdominal muscles. Like, okay, well, if we're going to cut through the abdominal muscles, I'm going to need to do X, Y, and Z on the back end of like some form of rehabilitative practice. Reach out to physio. Hey, backs, like, dude, what happens in terms of like a hernia from this standpoint? Like, after you see the surgeon, you're obviously going to go to like a physio or like your rehabilitation, like actual prescribed rehabilitation. What would generally happen? Oh, boom, 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 and that's okay, sweet. How do I then like dumb that down, or how does that then relate to me, the personal trainer? It's like I now have a funnel system. I now have a reach of people who I've never been able to I'd never be able to pay enough money to be able to walk into their room and be like, hey, I just want to ask a question. Because that's all I've always wanted to do is like a trainer, an individual working with people. Like that's the beauty of what we do. We ask the right questions. But now I can ask people who are way smarter than me and work with these types of things on a constant basis. It's like if it's an individual thing of like a hernia or lower back pain, for example. Like the lower back pain's obviously, and times in really well with the webinar. Lower back pain's the most prevalent problem within a population that 90% of us are going to work with. We've spoken about this multiple times in different podcasts. We've spoken about it, I think me and you have done one or two, and then I know you've done multiple on back pain. You and Shallow have done one back in the day as well, or a few of them, because it's the most common problem. It's the most common, like, injury, you'll know, from a chiropractic standpoint, also like it being an apple, etc. It's like that's where the problem is. Well, excuse me, not the problem, but that's where like we'll see a lot of the concerns. So if I'm the personal trainer and I'm the first point of contact, because that's what I am, I'm the first point of contact with someone who's trying to, improve their fitness journey, get stronger, get better, I better know what to do with low back pain. Why? Because one, I'm not going to lose clients. Two, my clients are going to stay training with me for longer in the gym, means I make more money. Three, if it is a concern, I have a network, I have a practitioner, I have someone who is legally allowed to then kind of take the next interventions, take the next level up and work with that person, i.e. a chiropractor. On the flip side of this, when we have chiropractors take PSL1, it's been this emergence of like, hey, chiropractic medicine or physiotherapy from that standpoint is not just rehabilitation, it's training. It's putting people in movements, it's putting people in positions that then makes them more resilient against the problem that they came to you with. It's what you do so well, it's what Shallow does so well. It's why you guys built Prescript, because you don't just want to crack necks and click backs for the rest of your life. You actually want to help people and stop them from coming to see you. Completely shit business model when you think about it from your standpoint. But at the same time, it's like that's being a decent human. It's like you don't want people signing up for your treatment program for the next 12 weeks and come see me every week. You know what? You're a charlatan if you do that, in my opinion. And that's coming from someone who's been through that process, unfortunately, with my own rehabilitation. But the idea behind this is now we have the individual that is that high level clinician, or like that, when I say higher level than a personal trainer, i.e. the clinician, physio, osteopath, whatever, and personal trainer who can talk the same language.
Yes.
And that's
absolutely.
the beauty. As soon as you get these two people talking the same language, i.e. communication, you know what happens? The individual, the patient, the client gets better faster, sees better results, lands up being out of pain, lands up being not injured, lands up getting better physical results. It's kind of like a no-brainer from that standpoint. And that's, I know we're doing a full circle on this, but the idea behind this is like, that's why Prescript is so good at what we do, because we have this thought process around every individual that kind of comes into the course has some form of positive impact into the course, has their own say. That's why labs are there. It's discussions, it's points. I've had guys in labs, shout out Alan. All right.
I fucking love
Don't
Alan.
know.
He's gonna listen to
Shout
this
out,
too.
Yeah. Shout out Alan, dude. He rocked up, I think it was 2 weeks or a week in, or 2 weeks into the PSL1, and threw down some questions that myself and Eric was on the lab. We were like, what the fuck? And dude, I've done this now 3 years. 3 years since labs started, if I remember correctly. I've
Right.
never been asked. I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember the question. I can't remember it, and I'm sorry that I can't remember it because it was so good. But I had no one ask me that question and ask it in the way that he did, because I remember that was the specific way that he asked it. And myself and Eric were like, this kid's fucking got it. And he made me a better coach. He made me a better person. He made me a better educator, or whatever I am within this, because he came with like a fresh perspective. He's a coder at Apple. He does CrossFit. He does all this, but like his brain works in such a cool way that when he starts asking questions, it makes me think that much further. And every other person who was on my lab, like whatever it was, 15 or so of them, all thought differently because of the way that he asked. That's the beauty of PSL1. That's the beauty of
unreal.
our community, because that's it. It gets us to ask better questions. That's been one of our taglines from like the very beginning, and that's it right there. We had one person ask us a question that made us all ask ourselves, or ask the situation, better questions so that we could get better answers.
And that's such a good point. And that's why these labs and the interaction part of this is so valuable, is because we're in the thousands now of preschool coaches, which is fucking mind blowing. It's unreal to me. But this started as ideas with Shallow and myself, and the idea that we need to teach these principles to people because we're having the same conversations over and over and over again. And with that, we had this idea that we had, well enough refined to turn into an education course. And then at that point, once we started to introduce an interactive component of it, it's exactly what you said, is that these conversations, every single one of those thousands of people that have gone through this course have made it better, is that we've been challenged. It's people ask us, it's basically defending your point of view, right? That's how it started, is that, okay, I get what you're saying, but why? Like, can you back that up? Can you explain that? How does that apply? And then for years, hundreds of hours, maybe even thousands of hours of these labs that we've all been through at this point, is that we practice and we refine this process of, this is why this is this way. And we become better at describing it. We become better at explaining it. And it deepens those principles in our mind. So really, it's just this synergistic relationship, is a positive feedback loop with the more people that go through this. And it happens less often now, kind of like you're saying, but every now and then we'll have an Alan come through and really challenge your perspective. And you have to really kind of dig deep and be able to communicate really well about these principles, or about how this applies in whatever scenario it might be that he asked about. And that allows you to refine your perspective. And the people that are coming, I think Shao says this at the beginning of each course, is that you're getting a better product than the last person that came through this course, right? Is that every time that this class runs, is they're getting a more complete offering than the one before it. And because they're benefiting from every single person that sat through this course before it. And in that kind of rant that you went on there, you made a lot of good points. And I want to pull some of those out and kind of use them as an excuse to talk shit, because that's real. This is the best
It's what we
means
do.
to talk shit on the internet, because the people that are listening right now probably already agree with what I'm going to say, so they're not going to put me on blast. But so you made some points about like a hernia, right? Is that maybe the average personal trainer doesn't know how to deal with the hernia, but I I went through education to become a chiropractor. I have a doctorate degree in, you know, basically human movement, biomechanics, everything about human, like physical medicine, how the body works. I came out of school not knowing how to handle someone with a hernia, right? So it's not just because someone has the education, because they have the diploma, doesn't necessarily mean that they're equipped to deal with these things. And this is the talking ship portion of this, is that there's people that sell education that there's kind of three aspects to this that people need to have to make it a complete and a legitimate offering in my mind. They need to have experience, right? They need to have
Yep.
years doing the thing that they're educating you on. And that's one thing. I'm just kind of pumping us up now, but because I truly believe in what we're doing. But there's fuck, dude, just be between the people that we have on staff, over 100 years of experience, well over 100, maybe
Comfortably.
closer to 200.
Probably closer to 200. We have 13 individuals on
Yeah,
staff.
and everyone's probably been doing this at least a decade. At least we have
Yeah.
Dwayne, who's probably been doing this for 30 years or more. So shout out Dwayne for pumping up the
Shout out
stats.
Dwayne. Yeah.
But still, like, I've been training for over 2 consecutive decades. I've been training other people as a means of making money for over a decade now. So there's experience hours there, hours and hours on the gym floor. And that's something that you cannot replace. People that are coming up now starting businesses online, you cannot replace those face-to-face hours. I've spent
Yeah.
hours with people. It's when someone is standing in front of you and you're supposed to have the answers to getting them out of pain or increasing their performance. There's no roundabout way. It's not, oh, let me update your spreadsheet, we'll talk next week. It's no, you have to come up with something right then and there, and you have to be able to have a conversation that justifies that. So you need those experience hours. Aside from that, you need the principles, right? You need the groundwork. The foundation is you need the facts. You need the understanding of the human body. So yeah, it's good to have a couple of people on a team with some diplomas. Everyone's been a personal trainer, but you need to understand anatomy. You need to understand biomechanics. You need to understand principles of exercise progression. That's buy-in. If you don't understand that stuff, you're not going to be an effective trainer, period. And then the hardest part, the part that people don't get, is application. You need to be able to bridge the gap between the experience that you have, the education that you have, and actually turning that into actionable things that people are going to use to get results. Right? So you need those three things to be able to offer an effective education that someone's going to walk away from. They're going to be able to get results with. And there's a lot of people on the internet
Yeah.
that have maybe one of these things, maybe two of these things, maybe none of these things, and they just have a following. And that's the hard part about what we do, is because we do predominantly work on the internet, right? We do in-person workshops, which is great, but that's even our in-person workshops. We those people get access to the online assets, so they get
Yep.
shuffled into the online level one. So these are people that we're spending months with. Months. What's 16? That's 4 months. At least 4 months you have to access everyone in here, to get every question answers, to refine your thought process, to be able to understand how to apply this stuff to clients. That's the thing that a lot of people don't have, that sell education or mentorships or whatever it is on the internet, is that it's maybe a weekly phone call, or maybe it's something that's very biased towards their perspective. But there's a lot of kids out there that just, pop off on some memes, get a following, and now all of a sudden they're educators. That's not what this is. That's not what we are. We're people that have
No.
put in the hours, we've put in the time, we've gotten the education, we've thought about this stuff. We continue to think about this stuff. We continue to shape our thought process, our understanding, our perspective around it, week over week, day over day. We have these conversations. And it's not just the best part about the interaction portion of this, the Q&A, the labs, is that it's not just one-sided. It's a conversation. Is that I learn just as much from these things as the people in that call do. So it's everyone becomes a resource for everyone else because everyone has a different experience. And the more exposure we get to different people's experience, that's just it becomes exponential at a certain point. Like I've heard of injuries and how they've been managed from people that have had hands-on experience with this that I'll probably never encounter. But I get the experience that they've had because we get to share in that conversation. So that's kind of circle back and talk a little bit less shit. That's the intangible value of the interactive component of this. And I think that's why the community is so tight, is because everyone is helping everyone learn and be better, is everyone's benefiting from everyone and everyone that came before them.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's the access to individuals who see things that I will never see in my entire coaching career. And then my ability and my responsibility. And I think this is something else that separates the individuals that take our courses. One, they're taking the responsibility, like you mentioned in the very beginning. It's like no one has to take our course. You don't have to take PSL1 to be a good coach. You're going to be a much better coach when you take PSL1. I'll put my cock on a block for that one, as I would say. You will be cock on a block, like a chopping block. No, that's what it is. That's the saying. I know.
That's
anyways,
commitment.
I'll put my cock.
That's full commitment.
Exactly.
It would be money back guarantee, but no, it's cock on a block guarantee.
Exactly, that's it. But you will be a better coach. You will be a better coach for it, and you will be able to problem solve better. And that's exactly what you were talking about with that, in person side. Every single one of us has had in person experience, and the individuals who we see in PSL1 who are trying to better themselves, are trying to make a name for themselves, either have or are now pursuing in person as well as online, because we understand that's the way things are going. But they're utilizing the principles and everything that we teach and these conversations and putting it into practice. They're taking the responsibility to make sure that they put these things into practice. It's not another certificate. You want another certificate, you want a notch under your belt that says you did prescript and you're never going to do anything with it, fuck off. Sorry to say that. And I probably shouldn't say that. It's not my business. But at the same time, it's like we don't want those individuals because we don't want to waste your time, because we want a level of coach and a level of individual that is going to make us better, make us as individuals ourselves better, make every person that takes the course better. Like you said, let's say every iteration of PSL1 is better than the one before, because the coaches that come in make it that much better. They interact in the groups. They bring more experience. They bring more time in the trenches. It's like no course out there can match the amount of hours of the individuals that we have with time in the trenches who have taken our course. I'm telling you now, they just can't, because everyone then takes that principle from week 1 to week 16 to 25-ish, depending on how this one goes.
Right.
And every week there's something applicable to take into practice. Week 1, we give you stuff to start taking into practice and start doing. It's like, and that's what I did. I was doing in person at the time. I took week 1, and it was language and the way that we talk, and it was like being more mindful on like saying the correct verbiage around, speaking to clients, speaking to individuals. Do you know what I did as I got off the lecture was at 7 a.m. every morning on a Wednesday for me? I booked that out. I did to my 7 a.m. My 8 o'clock client, I made sure that I started talking about exactly what we spoke about within the course. Why? It's how I learned. It's how I put it into practice. And every single person who takes PSL1 does that. We know that. And then we see the questions come in the labs. We see the questions come in the Discord. It's just, I know it sounds like we're harping on about this, and I know it is the best practical application online course possible. You're not going to get anything better. You're never going to get anything better. And again, every single year it gets better. The in-person application side of it is so I hate the fact that I can't make it to more of those, because I learn as a person presenting every single time we get into that. Why? I miss getting hands-on with people, dude. I envy you to a certain degree of still having like a hands-on practice, because I enjoyed that. Like, that was my way of sharpening my tools, of making sure that I stay problem solving and stay like in that mentality of like being able to fix things on the fly. It's like you had a sneak peek into what I do, like in a peak week with kind of Lauren from that standpoint in the last week.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's problem solving on the fly. That's my little fix of it. It's like, why did I spend stupid amounts of money to fly across the world? And like, one, I got to hang out with you guys for a week. Sick. I'll do that any day.
Amazing.
But the idea behind it is like, I get better at it. I'm able to stay sharp. I'm able to stay ready with all these things. And every part of Prescript allows you to start building that mentality. And that's the beauty of it. Like, that's the applicable side of it. That's the takeaways. It's all the information is out there. You can Google it. You can YouTube video it. You can watch anything that, in terms that you can go online, look at the course syllabus, and you'll probably be able to find some form of video that will give you the theoretical information. You will never be able to match what we can teach you to take away applicably and take away and start working on your business. It'll never happen. There's no YouTube video out there. There's no book that you can read that will teach you what we can teach you to be able to take the information and make it practical. It's not going to happen.
It's the thought process. It's the thought process that we teach. And that's the thing. You need reps, right? You need practice, because anything that you do, you're going to do it hopefully the worst you ever do it the first time you do it. Right? As you try a new skill, as you learn a new skill, hopefully the first time you do it is the worst, and every time after that is better. So that's exactly what it's been for me. That's what it's been for you. That's what it's been for anyone that's taken this course, is that we're going to expose you to a new way of thinking, right? A way that's been tried and true and has created results for years now, and has created results not just for us, but on a meta level of an exponential growth way of people that take this course have tested this and come back and said, hey, I did this and either this worked or this didn't work. And that feedback, that information gives us more, it gives us a way to refine the thought process that we have, that we now package up and give to that next group. So that's the idea behind this, is that it's refining a thought process. It's not about the information. Like you said, the information's out there, but the thought process has been finely curated and refined time after time to be as precise and as accurate as possible, so that you encounter something and you just understand the way to think about it so that you can come to a conclusion, right? Okay, so this is what I'm seeing. How can I break this down into its fundamental components so that I can now assess and have some sort of intervention to be able to create progress or create results? Because a lot of people get faced with something they haven't seen before. And if they don't have a way to be able to digest that and interpret that, then it's paralysis. They don't know what to do with it. So that's the important part of this, is understanding, okay, like we know what a shoulder is. You can look at the anatomy of a shoulder. You can learn, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscap. You can learn all of that stuff. But if you don't understand how that works in the system, and you don't understand how that contributes to shoulder function, and you don't understand the difference between training these muscles in a way that trains their action versus their function, or if you don't understand the components that are going to allow a shoulder to work properly, there's a thought process to this. And shoulder pain can be very simple if you understand how to break it into its components, if you can assess accurately. But if not, then you're just looking at it and you're saying, well, someone taught me that what you do when you have shoulder pain is you do banded external rotations. So we're going to do banded external rotations. And it's the difference between, I guess what I'm trying to say is the difference between what we teach is we teach you the thought process to be able to interpret and digest and dissect anything that you come across, versus a lot of things that are packaged as education are just systems. And when something doesn't fit into that system, then you don't have any other tools in your tool belt as well. I did the PRI thing and we blew into a balloon and lie on our side and it didn't work. So I guess I can't help this person. But there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. And even when it comes to looking at these systems, is that what we do is we give you the tools to look at. I don't know. There's a bunch of dumb 3-letter acronyms. PRI is one of them. I don't know which other ones are popular right now. But if you can, so like even things like, we'll say foam rolling or massage guns or PNF, you can look into these things and you could say, oh, these are the principles of what this is doing and why this is helping. And then you can extrapolate out and you can understand when that's going to be an effective intervention versus when it's not. Or you can cross apply principles from different systems to be able to get better results or amplify results because you understand the underlying kind of fundamental pieces of what that's affecting on, whether it's a nervous system level, whether it's a physiological level, whether it's musculoskeletal, is that you can now interpret because the thought process is there. And that's the difference between pre-group coaches and coaches that just learn a system or learn exercises or, I don't even know what they teach at like some of these personal training certifications now. I can't imagine it's very thought invoking. Yeah, right. But that's the difference is that once you understand these things is you have a system to create results. And that system is principles based. And those principles are based off of how a human body works and functions and acts. And that can apply to literally anyone on this planet.
Yeah, it's the principles allow you. So the principles allow you as a beginner trainer to be able to progress movement patterns from very beginner based to very complex, as well as take very complex interventions and understand what the base principle is. And what I mean by that is like, if you are a beginner trainer or you're an intermediate or you've been in the industry for 10 plus years, 20 years, whatever it is, you're able to take these principles, look at interventions. And I say interventions not in the typical sense of interventions being from like rehabilitation, interventions into like designing a training program. Because that's what it is. Your intervention is trying to make someone stronger, better, faster, fitter, look better naked, whatever it is. You can take the principles from this and you can extrapolate it out into like very basic things where you can train the 80-year-old how to improve her walking or her movement function so that she can get up and off the chair and hopefully not break her hip and land up like actually living a longer life, to training NFL players and everything else in between from that standpoint. It's like, again, it's all principles. And if you have the understanding of like what the base principles are and the way that you can then extrapolate that out into multiple systematic ways of thinking and ways of like complexity within exercises, whatever the movement pattern is, how it works, whatever the intervention is, if it's foam rolling, PNF, whatever that is, you can work with any individual, any athlete, any problem, and be confident enough to make some form of intervention work. And like I genuinely believe that. It's like I can work with anyone in a rehabilitative standpoint and not fuck them up. Pretty much. Whatever the complexity is. I can work with any bodybuilder from that standpoint and not fuck them up. I can work with most athletes from that standpoint, as long as I can like grasp the concept of the sport. Again, comes down to the movement and the principles of it. You can pretty much have a base understanding at least and work with any individual within the spectrum. And then double down and kind of go back to it. You'll find someone in our community who that is their niche, and you can happily reach out to them and you'll be able to learn and get better results and better understanding if you really need to. But it is the full circle, full system, full package. It is the full package of what you need as an individual, as a trainer, as someone in the fitness space.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful outlook to have on it because you train literally the best bodybuilders in the world. I specialize in Olympic weightlifting and with a large population in rehab for strength training. And if you look at those things, a lot of people would look at them and be like, they're very different disciplines. But we're here having this conversation around how the things that tie those together is human movement. right? That's the thing,
Yep.
is that we're focusing on human movement. We're talking about principles of progression around, it's still at the base of it strength training, right? Of principles that dictate strength training and adaptation to the musculoskeletal system, diet, metabolism, things like that. It all ties back, and those are the things, those are the systems that we need to understand. We need to understand the musculoskeletal system. We need to understand how people are going to react through the nervous system to this. And once we understand those things, it doesn't matter what the discipline is. Like, I've worked with high level baseball players, football players, power lifters, weightlifters, um, MMA, like combat sport athletes. I've worked with people from all these disciplines, and I by no means specialize in all of these areas. I've worked with high level bodybuilders also. I do not specialize in any of these areas, but what I do specialize in is understanding human movement and understanding the principles that create change with human movement. And that's the thing that gives us a commonality between yourself, myself, someone that's working in strength and conditioning at the collegiate level, at even the high school level. That's an interesting one, is because it's that's where you can have the most effect with this stuff. That's a whole side note. But the thing that ties all of these things together is that understanding the principles that are going to create change at that level, at the human level. And that's it. That's what Prescript is. That's what the Prescript level 1 is.
That's Prescript level 1, dude. And that's it. It may sound too good to be true. And it's like, I know we're harping it out, and I said, but dude, it's like, I'm so passionate about what this course does, not because I'm an individual within it, not because I've been here for 3 years, but because of the growth it created for me as an individual, as a trainer, because of the results it's allowed me to get with every single person that I've had the opportunity to work with. So if I rack it up over the last, 3+ years, anywhere from 50 to 75 clients at a time within that, it's like, over the years and everything kind of coming through, it's like, that's a huge amount of individuals that have been able to essentially get the results that they wanted, come to me to achieve whatever they needed to achieve. And honestly, like, I as much as I was experienced beforehand, it's like, I've never been as experienced as I am because of what PSL 1 did. And I'll happily say that with probably any other individual who takes PSL 1 and really applies what we do. It's like, it's cool to watch everyone, I don't want to say blossom because that makes it sound so fucking weird, but like, watch everyone blossom is the word I'll go with, into the coaches that we give them the confidence to be able to get to.
Yes.
We give the business the confidence to be able to, like, hey, I fucking know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. I get the results that I do because I've learned these base fundamentals and these base principles from Prescript. That's it. That's what we're going to do for you.
Yeah. And confidence is the perfect word, because a lot of people that come in, they have the knowledge base, but it's just disorganized in their head. And it's hard to really have confidence in that, because they know a lot of these things that are just floating around, but they don't necessarily know how they connect. And I've heard a lot of people say, even people that work on staff for us, someone that comes to mind is Eric Bagheera, who's incredible at what he does. And he's incredible at communicating too. I think that's one of the really good things about Bagheera. But it connects the dots. And once you understand how these things interplay together and how they build on each other and how they layer, then that's going to be the thing that gives you the confidence to be like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. And the thing is, once you have the confidence to, I'll say, to tell someone to fuck off, but not necessarily like in those words, but once you have the confidence to say, like, no, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong, and you have the reason, you have the principles, and you have the facts to back it up, then that's true confidence. And that's what this course does. That's what this community does, is it gives you the facts to not just create conflict. Well, maybe it gives you the confidence to do that too, but it gives you the confidence to know what's right and what's wrong and what's bullshit and what's not, and to be able to interpret that stuff and be able to be confident in what you're doing, to the point where you can charge more money because you do a better job and you know exactly what you're doing. And you said blossom, and that's we've seen so many businesses grow and blossom and flourish and all these positive we need we need Lindsay Patterson here. She has the best adjectives. Emailing her is the most pleasant part of my day. But it gives people the confidence to be able to charge more and to be able to say, no, this is my worth, because everyone else in this gym is an idiot. And that's really what it comes down to. It's just knowing that you're smarter than everyone else in your gym.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's it. I don't think we need to keep harping on this. This was maybe more for us than it was for you guys. Just to get this off of our chest. But from a very sincere place, I mean it 100%. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Mac, reach out to any of our coaches. We're happy to have a conversation with you. If you have questions, just shoot us an email, info@pre-script.com. Hop in the webinar if you guys are listening to this live. If not, we'll have plenty of webinars in the future. Pre-script level 1 starts in September. Don't miss your chance to join the community. If you guys are on the fence, maybe you're not in on it yet, join the collective. The collective is probably one of the most valuable things that we offer for the lowest cost. It's $35 a month. You get access to a lot of these resources. The number one resource being the community that we have built here at Prescript. So check out the collective, hop on in there, have a conversation, hop into some labs. We look forward to talking with you guys soon.